There's a little bit of fatigue that can kick in too. If you get excited about a new character, dead. Next chapter, a new character you're excited about, dead. It'd be nice to have some of them survive, right?
Are your children safe from Playtime Co.'s latest toy?
Employees see things they shouldn't. There are accidents, a nursery full of orphans.
Rule number 4. Secrets.
Whatever they aren't people anymore.
And nobody would ever know if anything happened to them.
You're perfect. Too perfect to lose.
Since its first chapter, Poppy Playtime has become one of the most talked about indie horror games in recent years. Known for its jump scares and eerie horror, the game draws players in with its tense, immersive world. Some of the creepiness comes from the found footage style VHS tapes scattered throughout the game, which build the story alongside videos on YouTube, deepening the lore for fans. Poppy Playtime is a horror puzzle game set in an abandoned toy factory where players must solve challenges while avoiding toys that contain human consciousness. While many first encounter it through children, Huggy Wuggy toys, school playground chatter, or viral YouTube clips, the game has a much broader following. Chapter 5, released in March 2026, sold 110,000 copies in its first 3 hours, and 275,000 in its first week, topping global sales charts on Steam and reaching number 1 on Twitch.
Characters like Huggy Wuggy, Yarnaby, and Lily Lovebraids are among those responsible for hooking the attention of millions. With Mob Entertainment's YouTube channel recently surpassing 1 billion views, it's safe to say that the popularity doesn't seem to be dwindling. The association with children runs deep, with official collaborations in Minecraft, as well as Fortnite and Huggy Wuggy merch, both official and unofficial, appearing seemingly everywhere.
However, the adult fandom of Poppy Playtime is just as huge. Drawn in by its mix of horror, mystery, and intricate storytelling, older players engage extensively with its story, creating art, analysing lore, and debating theories online.
Whoa, where do you think you're going there, buddy? Look, I know it's exciting, but before we can get you out there on the factory floor, we've got to talk about safety, huh?
But for all its popularity, Poppy Playtime hasn't existed without controversy. From early backlash over NFTs, to accusations that the game was too frightening for the young audience who embraced it. The series has spent years walking a tightrope between creativity and criticism. So when I spoke to the people behind the game, I wanted to understand how they handled that pressure, and how they balance horror with the responsibility of creating something children inevitably latch onto.
It's a very interesting development experience because we have, as you've identified there, a very broad audience of players, from fairly young, casual players to more mature, core gaming audience players. And so that makes it a difficult game to satisfy all tastes and play styles. But it also means that we tune a lot of our decisions to make sure that we can kind of keep the accessibility just right, where the horror is measured and calculated, that we don't alienate our youthful audience members or people who are not necessarily core horror fans, but also still have enough teeth that we can draw in and engage a more mature audience.
Some parents have said that it's not quite appropriate for children. So how would you respond to that? And is that something you think about when you're coming up with these stories?
A lot of us are parents, and a lot of us are concerned about making sure that we never go past that line, right? This is still a game that's made for mostly children, and we are very, very sensitive about that. But also we don't, as we all know, like if you make things too kiddie, then, children will be like, I don't want to interact with this, right? This is baby stuff, right? So we're constantly asking those questions, right? And we're very aware that we're very aware of that line. And when we cross that line, we always bring it back. We have wonderful conversations. We have people who we've specifically hired to keep us pushing that line and also pushing back. We have a wonderful push-pull, right? Is it toyetic enough? Is it creepy enough, right? And that is another of our core pillars, is making sure that that mix of creepy and cute is not only natural, but holistic for everything we do. And it's a constant debate, and we're super aware of it.
Hi, my name is Anthony, but mostly known as Nice.
Why do you think that Poppy Playtime is such a huge phenomenon? Why do you think it strikes a chord with so many people, whether younger or older?
The story and the characters, as soon as you see Huggy Wuggy, for example, it instantly gets your attention. And with every new character, especially with Chapter 5, with Lily Lovebraids, with the prototype as well, Poppy Playtime has grown so much over the years. And the story especially, just the mystery behind Poppy Playtime is what's the beauty behind the game. They don't just spoon feed you stuff. You have to play the game. You have to dig into the lore. You have to find VHS tapes, notes scattered around here and there. And that's just the beauty of it. Just the story and the mystery behind Poppy Playtime is what gets people really engaged.
So when you're coming up with these new characters and you're discussing them, is it always in the back of your mind that you're trying to make a character who's more iconic than Huggy Wuggy?
It's not necessarily that, but we have this filter that we always look through, which is kind of a toyetic filter, right? And we have some wonderful, wonderful artists here who truly bring life to these toys and these creatures. And sometimes we start with art first, which I know is sometimes rare. Again, sometimes an artist would bring something to a meeting and we're like, oh, we need to tell a story about that character. Happens all the time. It happened in Chapter 5. And it's very exciting. And I'll give an example. Wrong Side Outables that were in Chapter 5. And that was just an artist riffing in a meeting. And we were like, yes, please, let's figure this out, right? So that spawned like a whole new kind of line of characters that are in the game, and we're exploring now in other formats. So yeah, absolutely. We are children. We have children. We have multiple generations, right, that are working together. So we're always looking through that filter.
What is your name? What is your experiment number? Can you tell me who you are?
The game has now reached 5 chapters, with a new release arriving almost every year. But who's behind these creepy characters, and what comes next? Poppy Playtime didn't begin as a massive franchise. It began with 2 brothers in a bedroom, building the earliest versions of this world long before anyone knew what it would become.
It's been really fascinating to see how the studio's changed and grown. Chapter 3, when it was in development, was the most complex, largest scale project the studio had tried to take on. And it was an immense challenge for us to get that out the door. And it was really awesome to see how it was received by the audience. But over time, we've been trying to figure out, how do we really shoot for the stars? What are the ways that we can set up the studio cycle over cycle to make something bigger and better each time? And so that's been one of the things I've loved the most about this journey, is seeing how the studio has sort of grown from this independent small team with a lot of passion, but not a lot of experience in making games at this scale. And now we've got a bigger team, more experience, a lot more disciplines. Really interesting to see how we're setting up the foundation for the future so that we can tackle bigger and more exciting challenges down the road. So that, from a studio development perspective, has been really cool. And personally, when I first joined the studio, I was not expecting to be sort of swept off my feet in the way that I was. The team really has such an infectious energy where they love what they do. The passion for the craft is some of the best I've ever seen in my entire career. And when I landed here, I was just so taken in by that. It was such a creative revival for me. So helping the team and the studio and the product grow these past few releases has just been really gratifying for me.
If you have a look on Reddit, you'll see some people discussing about senior team members moving on over the years. So I just wanted to ask on their behalf, really, has that changed the direction of the narrative at all?
So what I can say to that is, with any company and any IP that happens, right? The cool thing here, and one of the reasons I'm here, is the founders, the creators are still here, right? I found in the past, when the founders move on or the initial creators move on, I think some of the spirit of the project dies and the world building dies, right? You go from creation to life support. But that is not the case here. So we still have the people who crafted this world in their room with the bunk bed. Like, you know, they showed it to me. Like one time they were at home visiting family, and they had a meeting from their room, and they're like, yeah, this is where Poppy was created. It's like, it was their room. It's two brothers, and they had a bunk bed, and they were talking about, you know, the worlds they wanted to create. So I think that as long as we have that core, we'll be fine. And we do have a lot of new people coming in, which I think is wonderful. And I think the question behind the question is the core of Poppy still there? And the answer is absolutely, absolutely.
One of the most fascinating things about Poppy Playtime is that a huge portion of its fans have never actually played the game themselves. Instead, they've experienced it through major creators like Jacksepticeye, DanTDM, and Hollow, whose playthroughs of each chapter routinely rack up millions of views.
In general, we try to remember that there's two core audiences. This is a problem across all game development, particularly when you get a certain kind of game that you make that, like Poppy, has a huge viewership and not just a huge playership. Is that content creators play the game with fundamentally different expectations than your normal day-to-day players. And so it's important to kind of honor both, because if you focus too much on pleasing content creators, then sometimes you'll end up alienating the parts of the game that your fans like, and vice versa. So we try to be mindful of both, because it is a really powerful and exciting thing to be able to see these great content creators out there creating stuff. And the team gets super invigorated when we see cool new content come out. We internally, we consume a lot of it. We have a great time seeing new streamers or reaction videos from people and some of the great moments that we'll create.
Just focus on running!
I think if we do our jobs well as a developer, we will create those moments naturally, and then they'll come through for streamers. But we definitely will take a step back and think to ourselves, oh man, this will be a great moment to see somebody streaming, because it's just going to provoke such an exciting reaction. You're going to see the chat light up, and that's a fun experience on its own. So, well, we have to be careful about what feedback we address and like how and when to make sure that we're honoring the full spectrum of our audience. We still also get that moment where we think to ourselves, oh, that's going to be a great moment to see so-and-so play. Oh, I can't wait to see how they react to that. So we try to do both.
When it comes to streamers and YouTubers who are playing through your game, how much of an impact do you think that's had on this fandom?
Love that question. And I'm sure you know the answer. It's massive. It's massive. It's absolutely titanic. We owe our success to our player base, as well as the streamers and the online theory crafters. It is part of who we are, right? Like our team comes from, you know, animators on YouTube, and it comes from horror fans, and it comes from game fans, and we've been really embraced by our community. So yes, and it's a back and forth. It's a conversation, and when we craft moments, we always think about, you know, is this something that the streamers will enjoy? Is this something that the players will enjoy? Will they be talking about it? Another of our pillars is never turn the lights on 100%. There's a lot of theory crafting, because we don't want to give you the full story. Yes, we have it, but we also want you to talk about it. We want you to debate it. So it is very much a live conversation, which is actually very exciting for us.
Poppy Playtime has faced increasing criticism from streamers and fans alike, most notably Markiplier, whose 8-minute rant about the game recently went viral.
Here's an interesting character. Gone. This character's injured. Gone. This character's interesting to be around you for a bit. Gone.
Much of the backlash centers on the series leaning too heavily into repetitive chase sequence gameplay, as well as introducing new characters only for them to be killed off, or seemingly killed off, almost immediately.
Oh man, this is a big talking point within the studio as well as outside of the studio. We have a lot of characters, as people have observed. We spend a lot of time internally bringing this character to life. Iterations on the concept, iterations on the modeling, the rigging, the texture, you know, the whole shebang that it takes to make something in a video game come to life. It's a cross-discipline effort. It takes a huge amount of time and resources from a lot of talented developers. And then, like Pianosaurus, you have like 10 seconds on screen and then they're gone. And it's definitely tough because there's a lot of resources that go into making those things that it would be good for us to be able to get a little bit more out of. But also when you see them resonate with the fans and they're like, oh, I love that character. Oh no, I don't get any more of that character. I think there's a little bit of a change in the studio in terms of like, once upon a time, these were meant to be sort of bite-sized experiences. These characters were stepping stones building toward a greater future, but we're seeing a lot of them resonate with players a lot longer. And a lot of players really want a longer developed character arc to learn more about these toys, these people that we introduce. And so we're kind of thinking a lot about that into the future of the universe and the future of of where we're going, is that how can we make sure that we better honor fans' excitement and interest in these characters? Because there's a little bit of fatigue that can kick in too. If you get excited about a new character, dead. Next chapter, a new character you're excited about, dead. It'd be nice to have some of them survive, right? So that's something we're definitely thinking about all the time.
Everybody has their opinions, and not every opinion can speak for you. Obviously, you have to look into the game yourself and play the game yourself to get your own opinion. For me, I'm a really big chase guy, so when Chapter 5 introduced a bunch of chases and more action, I instantly fell in love with it. That's what I felt about Chapter 4. It lacked a little bit of action, so when Chapter 5 gave us just chases, action, it really did hype me up, and I was really glad to see that they really did lock in with the action for this newest chapter.
So with the Poppy Playtime movie in the works, or is coming at some point, does that put extra pressure on getting the end of the story right?
Luckily, it doesn't really, because we kind of know where we're going. And we have a wonderful relationship with our film partners. And we've shared the story with them of the game, and we're working together on the film story. So our hope is that it'll be holistic. One won't fight the other. One will, they'll both support each other. And they've been very open to us protecting all the things we just talked about, like the history, the lore, and we want to respect our current fans and also open up the IP to new viewers, new players, new fans as well. So it's been a very positive experience, both Legendary and Angry Films. I mean, if you think about it, we have the producers of the Transformers and Dune teaming up with us on our little game, which is super exciting.
Oh no! Leave me! Please, just go! Run!
We get letters sometimes in the office at Mob or in other companies I work from, where people telling stories about how this game helped them through this difficult challenge in their life, or they were sick in the hospital for 6 months and the only thing they had was their Nintendo Switch or their little laptop, and they were able to play the game that you worked on and help them through that difficult time. So it's something I always try to remind our developers, the team. You're not just making a game, you're creating something that in many ways can be a refuge from a world that is sometimes scarier than anything we could put in the game. And that is a huge blessing in a way. It's such a great gift to be able to give to the world, not just this cool experience and the mystery and the horror and the moments of excitement, but also that little bubble that people can explore and find a community and find more about themselves or what they're passionate about.
I got to meet so many lovely people inside the Poppy Playtime community, and I am always thankful for them every single day.
So passionate. It never ceases to amaze me, honestly. I love it too. I love people's willingness to share their passion outwardly, because your passion has to be loud enough for it to take effect and for people to kind of notice. And it is really cool to watch people befriend each other. I love the community aspect of fandom in general.
We have lots of great stories to tell that go beyond the one that we're kind of currently in the middle of. Which ones we choose to tell and how and when we choose to tell them is beyond the scope of my role. But I will say that we are definitely sensitive to the fact that we don't want to drag this out forever, right? We want to make sure that people feel they're satisfied with the experience, that it has momentum, that it's going somewhere interesting still. Everything we're making, we're putting in the full amount of passion and attention to make it its own standalone worthy experience. We're definitely not in that space where people are worried like, oh, they're just trying to drag it out for more dollars, but that's not it at all. Like, we care so much about what we're making, and we really do believe that what we had in chapter 5 deserved to stand on its own and deserved a little bit more beyond that. How much beyond that, I can't speak to exactly, but I can assure you there's no intention to drag it out.
It's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Huggy. Goodbye.